Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, Cesar Espino. Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, Cesar Espino, and today I have a special guest. She's a visionary entrepreneur, educator, best-selling published author, a former naval officer who now dedicates her life to helping women thrive in their next chapter through the nest evolution. After decades of leadership in the military, education, wellness, and real estate sectors, she realized the empathy nest is an ending but powerful new beginning. As founder of the Nest Evolution, she helps women reclaim their identity, embrace purpose, and design joyful, meaningful lives and beyond motherhood through retreats, coaching, and a supportive sisterhood. She's a contributing author in You Can Overcome Anything When You Refuse to Give Up. She holds a BS in Oceanography from the U.S. Naval Academy and a master's in education with a STEM emphasis. She lives in Naples, Florida, with her husband David, their two amazing daughters, and two big, lovable dogs. She believes midlife isn't a crisis, it's a calling. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Kelly Salmons. How are you, Kelly?
I'm great, Caesar. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, definitely super excited here, and one thing that I really enjoy when I talk to people is everything that they have going on. There's a lot of things that we do as people, and there's a purpose that we're kind of embracing and leaving. Yet it took some time to get there, right? There's a lot of different things you have to go through to get to that moment in life. Before we dive into what you're doing right now, let's take it back a little bit. Tell me a little bit about your upbringing and where you origin from.
Sure. I grew up in Connecticut and decided early that I wanted to go into the Navy. And so after graduating from the academy, I was all over the East Coast with the Navy. Was surface warfare officer, oceanographer for the Navy, and got to exposed to a lot of computer stuff there. Loved it and ended up doing some computer consulting, was a network administrator. Then I left that and was swim coach and personal trainer as we were looking to start a family.
Yep.
Um, and then we ended up in Florida and have family here and have been coming here since I was a little girl and started a fitness center with my family. And then as the kids were growing, I got into education. So I taught for a number of years.
Oh,
Uh,
cool. Yeah.
Worked with a real estate investor. We had moved to Tennessee when the kids were starting high school, and I didn't want to jump in as an educator to a new state. Plus, I had two, like, eighth grade, ninth graders, and I didn't want them like lost and dazed and confused. And my husband was working nights at the time. So I started working with a real estate investor, just helping him back office, transaction coordination, all that kind of stuff so that I could be the mommy chauffeur from 3 to 9 every night
Yeah.
and,
All right.
be around and do all of that. Rolled into COVID at the end of their, high school careers, moved back to Florida as everybody left the nest and my
Yeah.
husband was traveling and now here I am.
Yeah.
So, I've done a lot of different things, worn a lot of different hats, but, all of it has helped me in, kind of forming me into who I am and what I've been exposed to and what I've done. Bringing it into education was fun because I had engineering experience, I had military experience, I had, more like athletic and fitness experience.
Yeah.
So it was fun because it helped me bring a lot into, I was teaching science. So I got
Gotcha.
to bring that in and have fun with it. And,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
you know, a lot of different things.
Yeah, 100%. Now, were you always wanted to kind of go into the Navy, or like that was like the idea right after, was this right after high school, I'm assuming, or did you first go to college, or like what was the deciding factor for you to say, hey, this is the route that I want to take?
So I woke up in seventh grade and said, you know what, I'm going to the Naval Academy. And, my grandpa was class of 43.
Mm,
And but he passed like right as I started fourth grade. So like that's a little early to start talking about college and things. And
right.
we never, I don't even really know if we ever really talked about it. I just knew he had gone there. But I don't know, seventh grade, I woke up and I was like, this is what I'm doing. And, I know I share in the book a
Yep.
little bit about my like story with doing that. But, I remember like getting the course catalog and reading everything and learning everything about it. And I was like, no, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And, worked really hard for all the things, the physical things, the medical aspects, and so it was something, and I got in, and I did 4 years at the academy in Annapolis, and then was in Charleston, South Carolina, or actually Goose Creek, and
Yeah.
in Virginia. And my husband was Navy,
Is that where
so
you guys met?
we met in school.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. If I may be, honest, and can I get your permission on this? Part of it, I believe, and I want to know your input, and whether or not you fall into that, and if not, that's perfectly fine. But I do believe that maybe some people that might be listening to us are probably in that stage where, like, hey, should I go into college? Should I, just work full time? Should I go into some sort of one of the military forces, right? Um, Oftentimes, people that I've talked to in the past, sometimes people decide to go and take that route because, one, they don't know what they want to do with their lives, so they're kind of lost in terms of like, well, might as well do that. It's kind of like the best thing I can do. Some of the people might say, "Hey, no, I build some interest, and therefore I want to do this." They're really all for it. And then there's other people that might want to get into something like that because probably growing up, or whether it's in high school, middle school, family, friends, whatever, there was a lack of acceptance, right? There people were not being accepted, and obviously people like the idea of being in community or being maybe in a place where maybe here I'm going to be accepted for who I am. Any of that falls into maybe the reasons that you decided to do it, and if not, like, tell me a bit about that, because I do believe that there's a big component of that, specifically the last one where, like, hey, I want to do this because I feel out of place and I don't belong, so maybe this is the place for me. Maybe I'm gonna get a bit of that acceptance because that trickles along the life that we live after that, right?
yeah, absolutely. I think a lot for me was, even as a kid, I was reading leadership books and books on leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was something that was really important to me, was having a place like I had also looked at the University of Richmond to go to college, and
Yep.
they had a program that was like a women in leadership program. And I liked, again, it was that leadership training and that leadership education. That was one aspect of it. I
Mm.
think also, and I don't think I realized it at the time, like going through high school, but when I got there and had to write an essay or something my freshman year, my plebe year, um, I recognized that, hey, I don't have to worry. Like, I'm going to graduate, and at least the next 5 years of my life after I graduate, I have a job. And I don't necessarily know where I'm going to be or what
Mm.
exactly, what aspect of the service I'm going to be in, but I have job security, and I'm serving my country. And a lot of that I think was important to me, that sense of serving,
Yeah.
and giving to my country. And just, that's like my language of love, is serving others.
Right.
So I think it
100%.
just has been kind of in many aspects of my life, throughout my life, that's always been really important to me,
Yeah.
and my way of showing, showing some of my love. Um, so I think that those two things were a lot of it. it was also a challenge, right? I mean, there were only 10% women when I went, which I didn't really think about it like that. I was just like, hey, I can do this and let's go
Right.
do it.
Yeah.
But it was part of my preparation because I knew there were only 10% women. So I knew I had to be physically ready to go. I knew I had, and so again, I was a swimmer and it just, again, I don't, maybe a little bit of an overachiever there, wanting to, I can do this. Like,
Yeah.
let's go do this.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I
I think
love that.
those things are all important.
Yeah, no, definitely, and I love that. Definitely like what you just mentioned, and I think the idea of hey, um, we've obviously been mentored by the same person too. So there's a lot of things that you're talking about that I believe are huge when the language we're even talking to ourselves, right? And again, you talked about hey, there's a challenge here, right? Let me get challenged, and I always tell people that when you think of a challenge, we as human beings, we want to be challenged. We want to be able to win that challenge. And so therefore it gives us that ability to say, hey, I can definitely do this. And so that's huge. The second thing you mentioned that I think is important is, I did this because obviously I knew there was a level of preparation, right? Obviously going to something like that is not like, hey, I'm just gonna go to a 9 to 5 job and clock in and clock out. Well, there's a level of integrity and there's a level of commitment for sure on your 9 to 5. Here's they're also preparing you because obviously I haven't been part of that, but what I do know or the little that I know is that if you screwed up, you're gonna screw it up really bad, and they can there's a lot of consequences with that, right?
Right.
We're very similar, I'm sure, like a job, you can get a write-up, you can get, suspended, you can get fired. Same thing here. Yet the preparation and the discipline and the things that you're learning there, you can very well take them outside of that once you finish that and now do something with it. And the last thing that I enjoy what you just mentioned that you were doing even from early on, which is kind of what you're doing now, is the act of serving or the act of helping other people, right? So even when you venture into real estate and being able to do all of those things, obviously, as you know, I'm also a real estate investor. So one of the things that I tell people is that, in this business, I do feel that we're trying to create, no, we're not trying to, we're actually creating a solution and or a win-win situation for everybody, right? So it is helping people at the end of the day. And so let's talk about now taking all of those things you've gone through, winning the challenge, preparing yourself, and knowing that now deep down you want to help and be of service, right? Let's talk about that. That kind of like that shift, right? But before we dive into that, tell me a little bit about the book because I think that that's huge for you in terms of being able to share something and your journey in terms of overcoming different things in your life. So let's talk about that experience. Let's talk about what are some of the major takeaways that you, as a writer, want to convey to the people that are picking up that book for you.
Sure. I mean, I think that one of the first things when I decided to, start this adventure, um, is I don't like posting, like just posting someone who's posted that, they've lost someone or whatever, and just saying so sorry for your loss. That even stresses me out. And I type that and then I look and I have to look at I'm like, okay, that's what everybody else said. It's okay. Like it
Mm,
really, and writing papers growing up, it was always has always been something that I would get tripped up on or struggle or not feel as confident in my abilities with. So first off, it was just the challenge of, can I put together enough words to have a chapter to contribute to this,
yeah,
to the book. So I feel good about it because yes, I did that, and it's in the book, and friends and family that have read it have been really pleased,
good.
or excited, or even thanked me with comments on how they liked their words helped them.
Yeah. Before you go to your next thought, because I think this is huge, what you just said right now. Um, uh, like you said, can I actually do this? And I remember, I still remember that day that you signed up for doing that, and you're kind of going back and forth. Can I really do this? Can I not do that? I mean, you were kind of tipping came back, and I'm like, all right, fine, I'm gonna do this, right? What was a huge lesson, though? I think from beginning to end, right? Even from the moment that you're like, yes, I'm going to sign up to do this. that was the first commitment, right? They're like,
Mhm.
"Yep, I'm gonna put it, I'm gonna do it," and then kind of waiting through that because I remember, during that time, I know you had a lot of things going on, so I said, "Hey, you want to jump on this one now?" And you said, "No, not yet," right? And so
Right.
came back. What were some lessons though learned through that process? Because I believe there's lessons that can be said, and I do believe can help other people that are listening to this. Because again, you're in that. Can I really do this? Can I put myself out there? Right? As simple as just doing that action.
Right. Well, and I know I say this in my chapter, but it's like being a perfectionist and redoing my math homework multiple times in fourth grade until my math teacher pulled me aside and said, Kelly, you're allowed to erase in math. It's okay if there's an
Ah,
erasing mark on your
yeah,
paper. Like, um, there was a lot of that, I think, growing up of my own doing, not anybody else, just me putting that on myself. And
yeah,
so not having it be perfect. And I've now recognized it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be a step forward. And that step forward can be, okay, I committed to doing this. And then going, okay, it's not happening in these next 3 months because of other commitments, but knowing, okay, it's coming up. I know it's coming up. And that I think I like to percolate on things. So that was good because it let me kind of go, okay, you're going to be able to do this. It's just a couple of words. You can put
yeah,
this together. You can make that happen. Um, and so that I think it gave me time to do it. Also, the when you said, it's when you refuse to give up, and it made me pull things together. And I was like, okay, I have something I can definitely talk about. If it had been something else like, why the sky is blue, well, I could probably talk about that too. But if it was something
right.
else that I just had no idea, like I would have been like,
Yeah,
and I loved like your direction was, well, just think about it or kind of lay it out. And I know for me, like you gave me a kind of a way to lay it out. And so I
yeah,
sat down and I was like, okay, here are my topics. And then I let that sit for a couple of days. And then one weekend I sat down and I was like, all right, let's do this. And I looked at my topics, like topic or themes for each, chapter or each
yeah,
paragraph, and I just cranked it out in like an afternoon.
yeah.
And I was like, holy cow, I did,
Right.
you made it very easy to do the process. So it took some of the fear or some of the hesitation away. And again, I felt like there was something I could contribute that had meaning for other people. Um,
Yeah,
but also I think just for me, it feels really good. Like I got the box and I haven't opened it yet because I want to videotape myself opening the box. Like, hey, look at
yeah,
this.
yeah, for sure.
But the box came in yesterday afternoon, and so I'm like, okay, so I'm all excited to pull out the book and be like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, like I'm in this book, like this is
Yeah,
me in this book, and celebrate that
right.
because we don't always um, celebrate the accomplishments, even when it's super small. Of hey, I made a post on Facebook, like I posted
Right.
live for the first time,
Yeah.
helping to promote the book, and that was I was all over the place, but you know what? I did it.
And
Was
that's the
it
important thing.
perfect?
You did
I
it, and
did
you put
it.
yourself out there, and you came out of that uncomfortable place, right? And like, yeah, it might have felt uncomfortable, yet there was no harm done, and you've learned through that process, right? And kind of goes back to a lot of the things that we're facing in life. Is like a lot of times because the fear of the unknown or the fear of what about if I fail, what about if I win, what about, and there's all of these negative thoughts that are happening, yet at the end of the day, the best way to overcome them is just doing it, and then learning from that. If you feel like you said, maybe I was all over the place, but guess what, I did it, so I can do it now, and then I know what not to do, right, kind of thing.
Right. And just, it's that small step. It doesn't have to be big. Like I know I mentioned in the book, like I like doing lists. I have lists all over the place, but I got to a point where I couldn't even put a list together.
Mm,
And finally, it was like, okay, wait, I can put three things on the list. And I remember someone telling me once, like, it was when I had kids, like babies at home, and I was like, I used to accomplish so much, and now I'm not accomplishing anything. And my girlfriend said, write down everything you did for that child today. well, okay, I got up, I fed the baby, I changed the baby, I fed the baby, I washed the clothes, I put the baby down for a nap, I made sure the food was, and I started listing all of those things, which those are all things that had to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But when I looked at it, all of a sudden, I gave myself grace
Mm.
because, oh, wow, I did do a lot of things, and those all took time. No
Yeah.
wonder I didn't get to the grocery store, or I didn't, before Instacart and all those wonderful magic things we have.
Right.
Like I didn't do these other things that I think I had to do. And I think that's important because sometimes when we get in a place where we're overwhelmed or we're not sure how to like step on things or move forward with it, and recognizing even one little step, because that little step has moved you forward,
Yeah. 100%.
and recognizing that.
Yeah, 100%. Tell me about the idea, where that came from, and the idea of coming up with nest evolution, right?
Sure.
um and not only the idea, also the purpose that you're serving through that, right? Because obviously, I think, as we I feel like as we're getting older, as we're leveling up in numbers, right? We try to find what is going to be my next purpose, what is going to be my next move, what is the next thing that I want to do. And while it may or may not apply to you, I always tell people that sometimes from a pain, whatever that pain might be that you might be going through, maybe, hey, my kids, left, so I'm an empty nester, or the death of somebody, or whatever the case may be, or I just lost my job and it has put a hardship in my life, right? Whatever pain point you might be going through, when you start thinking about it and start looking at, well, what will be my next outcome, a purpose is born. So from pain, a purpose is born, and then that purpose can serve not only you, other people, right? So let's talk about the idea and what's the purpose on nest evolution.
Sure. So, for a while, my sister and I have done a bunch of things all the way back to, the early 2000s when we opened a fitness center. Um, and we'd always talked about, oh, well, maybe we'll do retreats someday. And so I'd started looking into doing retreats. And then I was like, no, okay, wait, I think I need a little more income first. Again, my own limiting beliefs there, but I'm like, okay, so I was like, I know the real estate, and I did the real estate, and
Hmm.
and that's helped, bring along more income, so that I was like, okay, great. Now I'll be able to like have deposits to put things down and do all that kind of stuff. And so that was, that's been a long term kind of thought.
Hmm.
But as I moved into my own empty nesting phase,
Yeah.
and my kids both going off to school, and my husband was traveling all the time, and I had gone back into education, and that, which normally would totally fill my cup, was not filling my cup. Um, I got really stuck, and add on to that, um, age, hormones, you know, parents starting to age and needing a little extra assist, all of it, so many of us wait a little later to have kids too.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of happening at the same time.
Hmm.
Um, and I just got stuck. Like I couldn't figure out what it was I wanted to do. I couldn't make a decision on dinner. I couldn't make a list.
Mm.
Um, and so it took me a little while to kind of move through that. And I did a bunch of personal development and training and all of those things. Um, but then all of a sudden I was like, okay, I know I want to do retreats, but I need to, figure out how to do more than just retreats. And started thinking about, well, what would I need? And I went to a retreat myself and
Hmm.
kind of reconnected a little bit with my inner self, my inner power, plus all the personal development
Yep.
training I was working on. And I was sitting there thinking, empty nesting moms, like, and if you look at like, 25 to 30% of women during that empty nesting phase have significant depression.
Hmm.
40% of them have report struggling with like what their identity is now that they're not just mom, even though they may have had a job and done all these other things. But that mom identity takes up so much of your time when you have kids at home. And I started realizing, okay, like, well, what is it I want? What is my identity need to be? or what has it been in the past, and do I want that to continue, going forward? And so kind of all of those things were swirling around in my head. And I was like, no, we need a community for empty
Hmm.
nesting moms where you're not alone, because sometimes you feel very alone because your family or your friends and everybody were associated and linked to your kids. Now the kids go off to school, and those games and activities where you were meeting up and then maybe going and being social, well, those aren't happening because your kids aren't going to the games anymore. So you're not
Hmm.
necessarily running into your friends if you don't, really work at reconnecting, or you're all heading off to schools to go see your kids and their activities. So again, it's very much centered around your kids and not around, what you need or what you want. Um, and so a lot of the nest evolution was kind of my idea of, you've been the nest for so long, and now we're evolving into something else. I'll always be the nest. They can always come home. But but I mean, I have 20, 30 good years of life to go do lots of other things.
Yeah.
What are those things? And
Hmm.
I know for us, we stopped dreaming. Like, we were like, okay, great, we got colleges basically paid for. Hey, our Lexus is great. It's got
Hmm.
167,000 miles, but it'll run for another 50,000 miles. Like, okay, we live in a nice house in Naples, Florida. We're like a couple miles from the beach. Things are good. But if you asked me what was on my bucket list, the only thing I could have told you was I want to go to Antarctica. But other than that, there was nothing.
Mm.
And I didn't even remember really how to dream.
Wow. Yeah.
And so kind of all of these things came together, and I was like, no, we need to work on that, and get clear on what we want, and look at what our identity is. And yes, you're always going to be a mom, but what other, are you a leader? Are you an educator? Are you a teacher? Are you a visionary? Are you an artist?
Yeah.
And kind of having that space and other women that recognize that. And I think also as we age, we kind of come more into our wisdom as women, and kind of being able to encourage that and foster that. And then helping women to in the community to look at what they want their new identity to be, to look at what they want their daily life to be, to grow and to find joy in what they're doing, as well as, understanding this person that maybe they're sharing a house with. Like, is it,
Hmm.
hey, ooh, how you doing? Or is it like,
Yeah.
who are you? Is there that
Mm.
connection? What can we do to talk about those things? And, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a doctor, anything like that. But having a space where you can have those conversations with other people that understand that and are in that same place is really important.
Yeah.
And so with the community, with upcoming retreats, with some online coaching, and other workshops and opportunities, guest speakers coming in and talking about, that's what I've created, so that we have that space to share and to grow together. And you know, I'm here as a guide to help others,
Yeah.
to find those things so that they can feel joyful again, or excited about what they're going and doing, and remembering that, this isn't the end. This is the beginning of the next 20, 30 years of your life, where you can still actively get out and do a lot of amazing stuff.
Yeah. I love that. And I think there's something to be said about making sure that regardless of your age, right, that you have a little bit of clarity, and there's a little bit of a purpose driven to see what's gonna be again in the next couple of years, right? And you often hear this idea of people that whether they're entrepreneurs or they're working their a 9 to 5. A lot of the things that I see is as you get in up in levels, the big challenges is like, okay, what do I do now? And when people do not find that sense of purpose or don't have a crystal clear clarity of what to do, you hear cases that a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, they literally die, like they pass, right? Because there's nothing there. And you see it more, probably more with people that retire, you know, out of a company, because their purpose, whether it was good or bad, whether they liked it or not, it was going doing the routine, right? Going
Yeah.
into work every day, right?
Right.
Early morning, getting off late. And that was their thing. And then once they retire and they don't have that, it's like, okay, now what? What did I do? And if they don't feel that void, right? Or
Mhm.
with something else, there's been a lot of cases, unfortunately, that you see that, right?
Right.
And so I love what you've created here. Tell me a little bit more about, you know, how people, when people get into into that space, like you said, more, is it a customized type of coaching approach, or is it, hey, 6 months, 3 months? Tell me more about what that entails.
Sure. So there's a monthly option, kind of as a group with, again, kind of special guests coming in, talk about menopause, talk about finances, talk about, opportunities, talk about relationships, fitness, nutrition, all of those things that are important, as
Nice.
we're aging, and that we need to be aware of, or maybe spruced up on. Some, I mean, and in my house, I've always taken care of the money, but in some families, though, they haven't necessarily taken care of the money, and now they're on their own, and they need to know how to do that. So, it's kind of to be able to bring some of those things. Um, but there's monthly kind of group coaching. There are opportunities to do individual one-on-one coaching where we
Okay.
can work together. Um, if it's something that I feel like both of us would grow
Right.
from,
For sure.
obviously. And then, the retreats will be kind of once or twice a year, where it'll be a smaller group, and we'll work on something and be about a week-long retreat, week and a half. And then there's some workshops that I'm also putting together, which are kind of a weekend,
Gotcha.
in different areas to help people. Some of them will be virtual, but some of them will be in person as well.
Yeah, for sure. Are the retreats kind of like within the U.S. or out of the state, or out of
So
the
I
country? Sorry, that's what I meant.
No, that's okay. I'm still pulling that together.
Gotcha.
Um, I would like to have opportunities to do both, maybe one local, one stateside, and then one that maybe each year that is somewhere else for those that want to have a little adventure and be able to go someplace else and see something different. Um, or, explore a new area as well, because that can be quite amazing to go and
Yeah,
see something else, see something
yeah,
a little different.
yeah. No, I love that. Um, what's some of the things where do you see yourself not only taking yourself but also the people that are in your community and the people that are part of what you have going on?
Mhm.
What's the vision the next 6 months to 12 months?
Um, Really just to help these women um, find their dream, like dream again, and feel their inner power and recognize how strong they are. I mean, they've done all these amazing things. It takes a lot of energy and a lot of wherewithal to raise kids and get them to all of the events and the activities and get them out the door. Hopefully they're good contributing citizens.
Yeah,
uh, but I think you forget that along the way, and you just, this is what you're doing because it's what you have to do, and we need to be reminded that that takes a lot
yeah,
to make those things happen. And so again, helping the women in the community connect with their power again and understand how strong they really are and how they can overcome or achieve or go out and do. And it may be something as small as just recognizing, hey, wow, we don't need as much money anymore, so I could cut back hours and be able to go to a yoga class
right.
once a day, and that all still works out, which might bring them great joy. Or it could be, hey, no, I can go out and I'm going to be an artist, or I'm going to, go and open a business. You know, it's again, it's whatever their dream is.
Yeah. I, I,
And
I like what you said here. You said move forward every day, uh, take action. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just take the action, even if it's small. right? And it kind of goes back to what you're saying. It's like it really comes down to that. It doesn't have to be nothing major or something big. The idea is really making that commitment to yourself that you're gonna take an action to just keep moving forward, right? And doing something. The other thing that you kind of talked about is just go after your dreams, fulfill those dreams even after, like you said, if you become an empty nester, it's not the end of it, it's the new beginning, right? And there's something that I was listening to, and they said something that really resonated with me, and he said something about live full, die empty, right? And so live to the fullest, and so that when the time comes, because it is gonna come to for all of us, that you're died empty in the sense of, hey, I had everything. I did what I had to do. Like you said, in your case, you said, hey, I have a house. I travel. I did this. I that done that, and maybe for that moment that has satisfied that. Now, what is next, right? What will be the next thing, right? And so I love the idea that you're in this place where now you can contribute, give back, and help other people, other women, be able to find that so that they're living full, right? They're not just in this empty mind where, like, man, you don't want to be in your deathbed regretting saying, I wish I could have done this, or I wish I could have gone to Paris, or I wish I could have taken a retreat, whatever the case may be, right? Is like, no, like, be content and satisfied that, hey, it's part of the life, it's part of the journey of life, and I'm okay with that, right? And I think that's what you're trying to build right now, which I really think is huge.
No, thank you. Yeah, I'm very excited, and some of the gals I've been working with, it's exciting, and they were like, we were doing a lot on relationship stuff and kind of reconnecting and looking at the energy dynamics and relationships, and I was like, well, maybe just like set the mood, and that could be as simple as, hey, I lit a candle in the bedroom tonight, and one of the ladies was like, I can do that. She's like, I can do that. Like she
You
has so much going on in her life, but she was like, okay, I that'd be nice. Like just something simple, but for her, that was such a huge like
exactly
I can make this like I can contribute to our and it gives a little more ambiance to the room and
right.
whatever. And it doesn't have to be huge, but it needs to just be again those little things that allow you to
Those little
to
actions, yeah,
and to have those shifts. And it's like, oh well, okay, I lit the candle. Well, okay, well maybe next week, I don't know, we plan a dinner and we go on a date. Like
yeah,
date? I mean, a
yeah,
lot of times you don't necessarily date your significant other or that partner when you're hot and heavy and all the kids got to be in 27 places and you're just tag, you're it. Like I'm going to football, you're going to dance, you're going to, student council, whatever. And just having those few minutes or those times to come together is
yeah.
really important.
And I want to contribute something to that. I love that idea, just what you just said right now. And so you're gonna have those people like, hey, but I don't have a significant other, so I cannot go out and date. And I want to challenge those that might be thinking that, because I didn't do this until like recently, right? I don't have a significant other, except, again, I think the best relationship that you can have is with yourself. And so now, before, I couldn't do this, right? Like, I love watching movies. I couldn't go out to a theater if it wasn't with a friend or somebody, right? And there's times now it's like, if there's a movie, I'll go to see a movie by myself. Like, I'm okay with that. To me, it's like it's my time, to be able to do that. And now, obviously, it's like anything else. You want to kind of take it to the next level, not because you want to prove anything, but you want to prove something to yourself. To, like, hey, I was able to conquer that. It's just like in life, if you're looking at from a financial perspective, hey, I want to be able to get to $10,000 per month. Great. What's gonna take you to get to that number? Once you get to that number, create a new target. Now it's gonna be 15,000. You always want to be able to level up, in my opinion, right? And so, in this case, when we're talking about dating somebody or dating yourself, again, I do go to the movies. Okay, I can do that. Then I say, okay, well, I'm gonna go out and go get a Olive Garden, whatever it might be, some sort of dinner by myself. And I did that. And I started doing this like about almost 3 years now, where I've taken a bigger risk for sure. And I'm like, I'm gonna jump on a cruise that I don't know anybody,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna go on this cruise by myself and have a blast, like the best time of my life. And I gotta tell you, well, that the first time that I did it, I was going to where did I go? I think it was Puerto Rico.
Right.
uh, uh or yeah, I think it was Puerto Rico. And it was the first day definitely was it was challenging. It was hard, right? It was not easy because there was all these emotions, and very sentimental. There was a lot of things going on that were taking place. But then obviously I recognize, I went ahead and realized, hey, I put myself here for a reason, right? And not because I want to hurt myself, it's because I want to be able to grow as a person. And while maybe the emotions kind of overtook that particular moment, I recognized and then I surrender and I really embraced it. And then after that, it was like beautiful, right? And
Right.
then after that, I went, a year later or a couple of months later, I went to Japan by myself. And so being able to have those moments and literally going to dinner, to this fancy dinners, I put on a suit and I'm like here having a nice dinner by myself, and people are looking at me like, "Who's this guy?" kind of thing, right? Like it doesn't matter. It comes down to you being able to do that. So, whether you have a significant other or not, I do believe that making those memories, making that for you more than anything, I think is huge. And I think there's something to be said in terms of people that are afraid to get out. Like just go out and do it, right? Like you said, take those little steps, go out and do it. Even if you're fearful, do it anyways, and you're gonna thank yourself later after the fact.
Exactly. We went on a cruise as well, and there was a gentleman there, and his significant other was not interested in a cruise to a cold weather climate, and he loved photography, and we had a lot of opportunities for photography. And you know what? He showed up and he had a blast, and it was so much fun getting to meet him. And he got time to work on his pictures and do all of his things and enjoy everything. And then he went home and was with but he was still growing himself.
Yeah,
And he was like, no, I'm not going to miss this opportunity.
right.
So it's so true. It's so important that, we step up and do those things. And it's like, oh, all right. I mean, I just bring, like, travel for work or whatever, and you're by yourself, and I'd bring a book with me, and I'd be like, all right, and
Yeah,
I go sit at the bar and eat, and I might read or I might watch something. And inevitably, there's all these other business folks who are traveling as well. And, you strike up a conversation, and
exactly.
you never know the interesting people and stories you're going to learn,
Yeah,
when
and you
you
never know,
meet.
like people that are like, in the same place as I am, as you are, in terms of that. I mean, sometimes I was talking to another gentleman, and he strikes a lot of conversations when he's traveling or going from city to city at airports, and he's picked up so many clients because you just never know. You just never know who you're gonna meet. You just never know who's gonna be there or what kind of relationship you can make. So I think that in itself is huge. For me, is kind of like that idea. Is I want to live full and build memories, because I don't want to have any regrets. And so I made that a mission. Again, it wasn't too far along, like maybe 3 years ago, where I started doing some of the things that I love to do on my own now, right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go out and explore. I'm gonna go out and do it, and literally for no particular agenda or reason. It's just like, hey, like when I went to Japan, it's like, seems like a nice place. Definitely don't speak Japanese, and so it's like I'm gonna go ahead and do it, right? At least Puerto Rico, I speak Spanish, right? But
Right,
even that,
right.
here's like definitely getting myself out of that comfort zone, and I had a blast. I mean, I met so many people. And so I think that's huge. Kelly, people want to connect with you. They want to know more about what you have going on. They want to maybe have a quick conversation with you and see if you guys can be a fit. How can they find you? How can they connect with you?
Absolutely. So they can go to the nestevolution.com on my website. Um, I'm on Facebook and Instagram, Empty Nest Evolution or Empty Nest Evo on Instagram. I'm also on LinkedIn, Kelly H. Salmons, and they can reach out at support at yournestevolution.com.
Awesome. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And so, a couple of questions more for you. You definitely have gone through this process. You're doing a lot of great things for yourself. You've done a little bit of self development yourself, and you're obviously helping other people. What does Kelly do on a day-to-day basis? What habits do you have? What are the things that you do every day that are non-negotiables to kind of get you up and going on every day, day in, day out?
Yeah. Well, I rebound every morning. Like I jump on a little trampoline every morning.
Mm.
And it sounds silly, but I have lots of sinuses and I can totally feel it like, help everything move through my system and not stay stuck in my head so that I don't snore and keep my husband up all night. Um,
Yeah.
I cold plunge. I love doing that.
Oh, really? Okay,
I
cool.
do. I love
How many
it.
minutes or seconds? I guess more I don't know.
I do about 3.5 minutes.
Okay, got it.
Um, and I'm not like a 30 degreer, like it's about 55 degrees, which is great for women too.
Yeah,
So I really enjoy that. And while I'm in the cold plunge, I have kind of my power songs playing
yeah,
and I run through a bunch of kind of my affirmations or incantations that,
yeah.
are important to me, and that are helping me stay clear in what I want.
Okay.
Um, I read something or listen to something every day to try and grow from it. I'd love to say that I'm really, really great about going to bed on time, but that's something I'm still working on. I
Yeah.
tend to get excited to work at night and we'll get going, and then I'm like, oh, it's 1:30 in the morning. I should go to bed.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Walking. I need to do more yoga because I enjoy that. But and every night when I go to bed, um, I close my eyes and I run through all the things I'm grateful for
I
every
love
night.
it. Yeah.
And they're not, I mean, sometimes there's big things to be really grateful for, but a lot of times it's just the little things.
Yeah.
And um, because, the more we recognize and are grateful for the little things in life, the more those little things become bigger things.
Yeah.
Um,
For sure.
and we just keep, again, what you focus on is what comes to
Expense.
you.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Being grateful for the little things that then grow to bigger things.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. My last question for you is you've given us a lot of great golden nuggets and a lot of great information. For the people that are listening to us and are watching us, if they're going through any challenge, whatever challenge that might be, what is one or a few things you can say to them so they can start overcoming that challenge?
Sure. I think the first would be we're human beings, and sometimes you just need to be. And sometimes you need to just, even if it's 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, just taking a few minutes to just shut off everything else and just sit and be yourself. Just be there, and you don't have to solve anything, think about anything, do anything. Just exist. Can you exist for 5 minutes without, all of the socials and interactions and stimulations and all of the pressures of the world, sitting on you. So I think that's important because I know for me, being able to start and do that really helped me be able to then take a full
Mm.
breath, so that I could then go and start looking at, hey, what are some of my things that I want to dream about? What's something that I do want to work towards? And getting clear on what those things were. Um, you know, the clarity part, I think for me has been one of the biggest and most beneficial. But it took me a while to get to the point where I could even be clear. So that's the B part, and then just really getting clear on what you want, because you'll figure it out. If you know what you want, then opportunities will be presented to you on what you want, and then you can figure out how to do it. But if you don't know what you want, you're never even going to recognize an opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
those would probably be two of them. And then again, what do you want your day to look like? Does it have to be all of this crazy and all of this hectic? And I do not get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. That's not my thing. But again, I'm a night owl. I will work until
Right.
1:30 in the night. So, but that's okay. But I still have my things that I do, and
Yeah.
that's okay
You
to
have
me.
that discipline now, like you said. I mean, and I know a lot of people. I myself don't get up early either, unless I have to, right? Yet I do, just like you. I mean, I know what I want to get out of the day, and so I work off of a calendar. That's really the way I function. Just so that I know that I have everything that I need to do. I'll even put hey, I'm gonna go out with my daughter to dinner on my calendar. Or I'm gonna go out with my grandkid to go play basketball. Like I make sure that I calendar those things to make sure that I'm giving myself that accountability more than anything, right? The
Yeah.
commitment.
Well, and you're creating that space for it.
Right.
And then
100%.
it becomes one of those non-negotiables. Like, nope,
Yeah.
this is dinner with my daughter. Like, I'm not going to miss that. That's just like a business meeting.
Yep. Right.
It's more important than the business meeting,
Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
and that's important.
Yeah. No, 100%. Well, Kelly, again, it was such a great conversation with you and having you on the show. Anything else that you might want to share before we let you go?
No, this is, you can rediscover yourself and start your next chapter.
Yeah.
And you can do that today, you can do that tomorrow, but do it today. Why wait?
Yeah, exactly. Because and I like that because at the end of the day, it's like there's only two perfect moments in life, yesterday and today, because tomorrow is never promised, right? So, thank you again, Kelly, for being here. I really appreciate you, and thank you for sharing everything that you did. I think there's a lot of great value for the listeners. For the rest of you guys, do me a favor. Please make sure that you go ahead and connect with her in her social media or send her an email. And also do me a favor, please ensure to share this with somebody because definitely somebody needs to hear this message. And I'll see you guys on the next episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. Thank you.
Thank you, Caesar.
Hi, I'm Cesar Espino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you've tuned into this podcast. You can find me at your favorite podcast platform where you can like, subscribe, comment, and share. And to learn more about myself, my services, you can find me at www.cesarrespino.com, or you can also find me at your social media. Thanks for joining me, and I am looking forward to having you at the next episode. And know you truly can overcome anything.